Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's SPK and Associates vlog, Why Integration Matters for Modern Engineering and Product Teams. My name is Michael Roberts. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing here at SPK and Associates, where we work with organizations around the world to help optimize systems, data, process that power product development. As engineering environments grow in complexity, teams are often relying on a widespread range of tools from Jira and GitLab to Windchill PLM and Codebeamer ALM and many others. And while each tool may work well individually and may provide a large breadth of features for engineering teams, the real challenge comes where those systems operate in silos, and then the organization struggles to keep all that data, the workflows, and the decisions across the entire product lifecycle. So, to help us explore how organizations can overcome those challenges, I'm joined today by Ashutosh Dharmik from OpsHub. Ashutosh, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Uh, Hi everyone. Hi Michael. I'm Ashutosh Dharmik. I'm currently working as the senior technical lead at OpsHub. I'm associated with this company for the last 7 years now. I am primarily involved with the new connector development, like the new systems and tools that we support as a part of our product. My team overlooks the development of that. And other than that, I oversee various operations related to the engineering and release management. So yeah, that's about it. About what I do at OpsHub.
So Ashutosh is an awesome guest here today because he has insights not only into the integration challenges that companies have, but he is literally doing the same thing that everybody else is, trying to integrate tools to be quicker and more efficient. So we got some really good insights we want to share today. So Ashutosh, the first question I have, many engineering teams, they're using really good tools. There's a lot of really good engineering, more modern tools, Jira, GitLab, Windchill, Codebeamer, and a lot of others. But they don't always talk to one another. There are some native integrations, but there's a lot that aren't there. So, what challenges do you see when data and workflows aren't integrated across these systems, and how does that impact product development, both speed and quality?
So I think that's a good starting point for this discussion. I say, when these systems they don't talk with each other, it directly affects the velocity, traceability, compliance, and the release quality. And the biggest of the lot, I believe, is broken traceability, right? So in product development, especially in the regulated environment, you need traceability. It's almost like non-negotiable. You'll need traceability right from requirement to the production deployment phase, right? The enterprises, they cannot afford any gaps in the audit trails. So when the tools aren't integrated, uh, the impact that you'll see is, let's say there are requirements in Codebeamer, they won't be associated with the Jira user stories. The Jira user stories, they won't be associated with the GitLab commits. There won't be any end-to-end impact analysis here, right? So if you really see that the relationships and the associations, it is not intact across all the systems in absence of something like an integration. The other downside that we often see is people end up doing manual re-entries across the multiple systems, right? They'll re-enter requirements manually from one system to another. The status updates may be copied from one system to another. So it's like when the systems are isolated, people become the integration layer, right? And the impact of that is wasted bandwidth because you are doing manual re-entries. You'll have human errors, right? There would be data inconsistencies. There would be misaligned reporting as well. And if you really see, this directly impacts your development speed because you'll have people end up spending time managing tools rather than the actual product development, right? uh, Another, in modern engineering, the speed also depends on how fast the feedback loop is, right? From the time you commit to you build to you test, report, and then fix it. So without integration, you'll have a delayed feedback loop. So if you really see that, let's say I committed something, there is a QA person, who is testing. and he comes across a failure, right? That failure won't be reflected back to the tool that the developer is using, right? They may use a manual communication mechanism like, over message or over email, right? And it would never yield good results. Like, it is always error prone. So your overall, the bug resolution, it's going to be slow. The probability of defect leakage can be, relatively higher because of it. The other problem that, Michael, I see with isolated systems is workflow misalignment. Like, every tool is going to have its own set of workflows. Like, Jira may have its agile sprint workflow. GitLab may have a CI/CD pipeline, or the Codebeamer may have its requirement lifecycle, right? So, if these different workflows, they are not connected, what may happen is a requirement which is, let's say, marked done in Jira may actually never be deployed, right? A commit that is merged in GitLab may never get reflected back to Jira. A change request, which is probably approved in Windchill, won't trigger the development, right? So if you really see, like, each of the aspects that I just highlighted, uh, in absence of integrated systems, in absence of an integrated tool chain environment, the overall setup or the overall environment, it is going to have direct implications on the velocity, quality, traceability of your product development.
I love the with those isolated systems, the humans become your integration. I have been that integration before, copying stuff from one system to another. And the other kind of pattern I see with that too is at some point humans don't see the value in that work and then they
Right.
just stop doing it, which is probably even
Agree.
worse, right? Then you don't even have the data in those
Yes.
systems, right? So okay,
Right.
so let's flip it. Let's talk about the positives when integration is done
Right.
right, right? So
Right.
uh, I, we think that when you do these integrations between these systems, it's more than
Right.
just synchronizing data. It becomes more of a strategic advantage or competitive advantage. So, given the fact that you've been with OpsHub for quite some time, can you share some examples of how those connected tool chains can improve collaboration? You mentioned traceability and compliance for those modern engineering environments.
See, I think uh, when you have integrated systems, it allows your different teams, like your product team, your engineering team, your QA team, to work from the same information flow instead of isolated tools. So let's take an example here. Your product team would define requirements in Codebeamer. Now, when you have an integration between Codebeamer and Jira, the development teams would automatically receive the Jira user stories corresponding to these requirements, right? When the developers push their commits to GitLab, these commits get referenced back to the Jira issue against which they made the commits. Similarly, if, let's say, a QA person is testing, some user story, right? Uh, and the results of those testing, the test results would be referenced back to the Jira user story. So if you really see the impact here, it's the manual status updates, right? It gets reduced. You'll have clear ownership of the work items. The feedback loop that we were just talking a while back, it becomes faster between the team. So instead of chasing, updates across the tool, the teams actually collaborate around a shared lifecycle view, right? The other aspect that you talked about was traceability. It is actually one of the biggest advantages of having an integrated tool chain. Like, it establishes a complete traceability from the requirement to the production deployment, actually. So the example that we just took, right? You'll have requirements being created in Codebeamer. It automatically generates the development task. Similarly, the Jira issues, they get linked to the GitLab commits and the merged pull requests, right? The CI/CD pipelines, they'll just record, build, and test results and associate them with those issues. So here, if, let's say, an issue occurs in production, right, a defect occurs in production, the root cause analysis of it becomes a lot faster. The impact analysis is a lot easier. Uh, by having an integrated tool chain, right? You can generate automated traceability reports. And in regulated industries like your automotive or aerospace, this traceability is often like mandatory compliance requirement, right? Then you can also have something like automated change management and governance. So let me take an example. You may want to have something like uh, only the authorized person can approve a change request in Codebeamer, and only that should trigger the development in Jira. At the same time, you can track the progress of the development being done by having the status from Jira flow back to your Codebeamer requirement. So if let's say a developer starts working on a user story, it can just update the status to in development. Once the development is completed, the person may just update the status to development completed. Once it goes into QA, the status can be just updated to in QA, and this status updates can flow back to Codebeamer, and from Codebeamer as well. The development status can be tracked. So having you this way you can control the overall change management process. It also reduces the risk of unauthorized changes, and then you have very clear audit trail for every modification being done. And then, as I said, this becomes particularly useful where engineering changes must be formally approved and tracked by only the formally approved by the authorized person only, right? Other thing that I see is your release. I mean, I manage releases myself, so I know having an integrated system, it makes your releases faster and reliable. Like when you have your CI/CD pipelines run automated test suites, you can have your release notes generated automatically directly from the linked issues and the merged changes, right? You can have your Jira issues tied to a specific release version automatically gather all the related GitLab commits. So it reduces your overall manual efforts that are required in release management. At the same time, it increases the confidence in your releases as well. Right? And the last point, again, this is particularly useful for the ones who are working in more regulated environments. Like the overall compliance process is simplified, right? Since you have your requirements, your development work, your testing, releases, everything interconnected, teams can quickly generate various reports like requirement coverage report, or the test verification report, the change approval report, the deployment records, etc. Right? So this saves a lot of effort that would have gone into manually creating this audit documentations.
And the to that last point, I always hear the when people move from kind of legacy disconnected tools to more modern tools with all the traceability points that you just made, they and then they have to go through an audit and they realize like, oh, it's not a run around and
Right,
spend 2 days or 3 days just
right,
gathering data drill. It's a couple
right,
clicks and PDF and give it to the auditor and you're
right.
done. Yeah, it makes things so
Yeah,
much easier. So
yeah.
yeah. So all that can sound daunting because there's a lot in terms of connecting systems and whatnot. So all that integration, sometimes customers feel, and when we're speaking with them about this, they feel like that could be overwhelming, especially for the large regulated industries that you mentioned too, especially added on, even if it's their legacy systems or not more modern tools. So given that, what's your advice for teams who want to start connecting those tools, but need to minimize the disruption or reduce the risk during that process?
Right. See, I think the reason why people feel a little overwhelmed when they hear about integration is the first reaction is they'll have to change the way they work, and that to anyone is never going to be
Scary.
easy thing to accept. Yes.
Yeah.
So a very I mean few very generic advice that I would give you or to the audience that you don't start integrating anything and everything within your ecosystem. You start with high value use cases and then take an incremental agile approach towards it. Like you identify the the most costly friction point that you have as of today. So it can be just linking the requirements from Codebeamer to your user stories in Jira. or it can be just connecting your commits and CI pipelines from GitLab to Jira issues. So when you solve a very clear operational pain point, teams see immediate value in it without having to need a larger transformation effort, right? Uh, and once the integration stabilizes, your workflows and the processes can then be gradually optimized. So this avoids forcing teams to immediately change how they work. Another critical aspect when you set up integration is its the sync reliability and the completeness. See, if the information doesn't flow or doesn't sync completely or reliably, users would then tend to fall back to the older methods like email exchanges or message exchanges, which eventually reduces the trust in your system. Having said that, we as OpsHub we suggest three principles that matter the most for anyone who wants to set up integration. First is you define the source of truth before connecting anything. Like which system owns which entity, which system owns which field. Now, let me explain this. Like if let's say you are integrating Codebeamer requirement and Jira user story, you will have to define like let's say your Codebeamer, it owns the severity and the customer impact fields. You may say that Jira, it owns the status and the assignment field. You may just say that, okay, the attachments need to flow only from Codebeamer to Jira. So a clearly defined ownership, it prevents loops and conflicts, right? Second is, see, each of these systems that you're trying to integrate, they have their own data models. So you'll have to normalize the data model so that each system can stay its authentic self. So for example, Codebeamer may have priorities like, let's say, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And Jira may have priority like, let's say, high, low, and medium. So you'll have to normalize this. You'll have to normalize the states. You'll have to normalize the workflows. You'll have to do identity mapping. So basically, your integration has to be more like a translation and not just duplication of data from one system to another. And the last point is, your integration, it's not just it it should not be just point to point integration between two systems. It should be able to resolve conflicts if they occur. It should be able to guarantee the data integrity. It should be scalable as well, like it should be able to handle, thousands of updates in a given amount of time. It should be able to maintain your data contracts, and it should also offer monitoring and governance. So yes, at first integration may sound overwhelming to the team, but if approached right, I think you can reap a lot of benefits out of it as well.
Absolutely. And your point to start small, do something that shows some value, right? That goes a
Right,
long way. Start somewhere.
right.
So Ashutosh, thank you so much for your time and for sharing today. I really appreciate all the insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. It was nice talking with you.
So, folks, as we've discussed today, integration is no longer just a technical convenience. It's actually a strategic capability that enables engineering and product teams to move faster, collaborate more effectively, and maintain that traceability and compliance that Ashutosh mentioned. So, when organizations are connecting those tools like ALM, PLM, DevOps tools, project management platforms, they unlock a more complete view of their product lifecycle and empower teams to make better business decisions with the right information at the right time. So if you like to learn more about how SPK and OpsHub help organizations integrate their product engineering tool chains and streamline that product development process, feel free to reach out via our socials, which will be linked in the description, or explore the resources on our website. If you've enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe to the SPK and Associates YouTube channel for more discussions like this on engineering, DevOps, and the technologies that are shaping modern product development. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in the next episode. Thanks.